Yes, hello people. Welcome back to another episode of the Navvai Shift. Today I got my co-host Darnell, and we've got a fruitful guest. His name is called Jeff Cree. He's the head of development and capital development at CacheCade, and he's the CEO and managing partner at Atlantic Gulfstream Partners. A man that wears many hats. But Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How are y'all?
Yeah, all good, all
That's it.
blessed. Perfect.
You like that Texas y'all? If you guys hear that a lot, how are y'all?
You know what? It's new. It's new. We've not had anyone from Texas so far, but I mean,
And
it's
I
a
need to
nice
get used
blend.
to it because I plan to move there next year, so got to get used to it.
Houston.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Right down the street from here.
I'm gonna have to come and check in.
Yeah. 100%.
Amazing. But Jeff, for people that are not too familiar with yourself, could you give us a brief introduction to yourself, what it is you do?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. I've been in private equity for just about 5 years now in the Austin area. Started out having my own consulting firm and then started as a VP after that at Noble Capital, where we had 10 portfolio companies and HVAC, and we were doing some acquisitions in plumbing and electrical and wealth management. And so that experience really opened my eyes to managing portfolio companies and making investments and acquisitions. And that's what kind of sparked the rest of my journey to start my own private equity firm. Without going into too much details, a normal private equity roll up takes about 10 years, 7 to 10 years. And I figured there has to be a better way. So I came up with this compressed roll up thesis to where we take that process and condense it down to 2 years. So we one time close on 5, 7 companies. Then within 2 months, we get it aggregated, the accounting consolidated, and get it back on the market and resell it. That allows me to do two things. That allows me to return investors money back in a real estate like investment, a real quick turnaround, asset backed. And then for the founders, of course, when you're sitting there, signing an LOI with a guy trying to buy his business and you're telling him he ain't going to get the majority of his money for 10 years, that doesn't go over very well. So when you do it in 2 years or less, it's around the time the earnout expires. So it's just perfect timing. So to me, it just made more sense like that. So that's why I started my company. And that's where we got into this discussion with CacheCade. We were working a deal at an independent sponsor group I was part of, 528 Partners, and man, we had 17 million EBITDA all lined up, and we thought, man, we got it made, right? And we contracted CLA to do the quality of earnings, and found that, oh man, yeah, there's a lot of things that we missed. So we had to go back to the drawing board and get that ironed out. And during that process, we found out that the analysts on the deal made a huge mistake to the tune of like $20 million on the waterfall. So that got me looking at waterfall providers and ways to automate that and reduce errors and get off Excel. Because, as executive management, we need to be able to identify the assumptions in the model like really quickly. And that's kind of hard to do when you got a lot of cooks in the kitchen and spreadsheets are going back and forth. There's really no way to audit it. It's not really traceable. So I searched for a system that could do it. And sure enough, I found CacheCade. And I started talking to Gregor and Oliver, the founders, and ended up saying, I want to be a part of this. So they hired me to be, the head of business development for them and raise a little capital. So that's been a great contract. I've really enjoyed working with these guys and continue to enjoy working with them. They built something truly remarkable. We have some major clients. Deloitte has 2,500 funds on it. They use it to audit private equity and hedge funds, VCs. So it's a remarkable platform that's got a lot of growth. We have some other tier one clients as well. But yeah, it's been a heck of a journey. We're on the tail end of a $5 million raise. We've raised 3.5. We're just looking for the final 1.5. So if any of your listeners or investors looking for a near exit growth equity SaaS, play, we've got it at CacheCade. It closes in about 3 weeks from now. So we don't have much time left. So, about the third week in August, something like that is when the round closes. So great opportunity to get, 4.6 MOIC, which basically just means multiple on invested capital for people that don't know. So for, if you invest $250,000 at the low end, you can expect, to get back $1 million in less than 2 years. So it's a pretty nice investment. It's not every day you come across these, growth equity near exit opportunities, right? It's more like VC, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But this is asset backed with a matter of fact, CacheCade has a, $35 million EV from a buyer just a few months ago that was turned down. The owners really want to get to 50 million. So it's a great opportunity. And yeah, I mean, I can keep going, but I think maybe if that's enough information on that, we could just move to a different topic.
Yeah, no, 100%. I know we spoke a little bit off camera in relation to this, but by the time this actually comes out, of course, it would have, there'll be further information on it. But you got a big day tomorrow, the press release. If you are able to go into a little bit more information, because I know it is linked to, artificial intelligence. If you could tell us a little bit about that, that would be pretty dope.
100%. Yeah. So we see AI as being the basically where everything is headed. Like I think Mark Cuban said it best. It reminds me of like the 2000s, right? Where you wake up and there's something new coming out. Well, I'm proud to be that new coming out part that he's talking about because we're introducing tomorrow the world's first AI based quality of earnings report. And we're really excited about it. Had I had access to a system like this last year, it probably would have, the deal probably would have gone through, to be quite honest with you, because we would have been able to identify the businesses that weren't going to make the cut in the long run, the deep dive due diligence within the first 48 hours and moved on somewhere else. And it would have saved a tremendous amount of time. Matter of fact, guys, there's $1.7 trillion lost annually in deals that don't close. Yeah.
That's a huge
I mean,
Yeah,
it is.
statistic. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean it's $50,000, $60,000, sometimes $100,000 to run a quality of earnings report just on one company. And we built TradeGage AI, which is what you're referring to as the big press release tomorrow, to solve that problem. It's basically we serve two different areas. We serve SMB founders to give them CFO level actionable insights. We basically pull their data out of their accounting platform. We API from QuickBooks and bring it right into our AI BI dashboard, a lot similar to the things that you guys do. But then we go a step further and then we do evaluation with a multiple. And then we also perform a quality of earnings report in a matter of hours, for $2,000, which is, substantially less expensive and substantially quicker. Shore Capital, Justin Ishba has got a video on YouTube actually saying that, there's only two business models that work long term. And that's you're either low cost or differentiated. And our platform is both of those things. It's low cost and it's differentiated. So we're really bullish about where it can go. We also have some other partnerships that can spin up term sheets in 48 hours. Ideally, as we, build out our roadmap this year, we're going to be providing an appraisal, a quality of earnings, and a term sheet in 1 week time. So, that's really flying if you know anything about M&A. It truly changes the game. And it weaponizes your strategic buyers that don't have a corporate development team. They can now outsource a corporate development team for much less expense than it would cost to bring in somebody like a KPMG or some big time accounting firm. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to do an acquisition. Now you can bring in parties like if you have a coach that uses TradeGage AI or somebody like that, they're going to put yourself in a much better position to quickly identify the targets and then the ones that you shouldn't spend a lot of time with. Because guys, let me tell you something, you jump on planes, buy dinners and develop these relationships only to find out that, it's not actually in your buy box. That's not fun for anyone involved, not fun for the founder. And, I can't tell you how excited we are about it. I came up with it out of necessity because we have to close on 5-7 companies all at once for my thesis to work. So I had to have a platform that was extremely quick in getting to the raw data that I need to make a decision. And as it turns out, other people are looking for that too. So we're going to bring it to market for them.
How long was you building out this platform for?
Just about 6 months now. We got 50,000 lines of code written. The MVP is done. It's the UI is really good. I love you guys as UIs too. You guys do such a great job with that. Hopefully we can have the same type of user experience that you guys have been able to pull together, start that journey. But you guys are a little bit ahead of us there. We're just starting our seed round. We're gonna come out with a 2 million seed round and a 12 million cap. That'll be introduced tomorrow. And so, we got 90 days to raise that money, and we're off to the races and building things and moving on. 73 Strings was a big influencer in our development of this product. And they just raised $50 million in a Series B round, and they just do valuations. So not only are we doing valuations at the private equity portfolio company level and at the SMB level for the SMB founder who doesn't have a clue what his company's worth, and he's got private equity companies calling him, and he's just like, well, I don't know. Well, now that SMB founder is going to know exactly what his business is worth. He's going to be prepared to answer really difficult questions, and he's going to have a quality of earnings report ran. And if they can't pass it on this SMB side, we give them actionable insights into what to do to get to a level to where it's institutional grade, and you're going to pass those things. Because guys, let me tell you something: you go in to get bought by a private equity company, and you don't have everything in line, your job cost details, your P&L. Well, they will slash the amount of money that they're going to pay you. It's guaranteed. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And if you can't measure it, you can't put a value on it. So having your, having your work in order, everything, your data lined up and in order is key to a strong exit. And so that's one of the things that we're working to do is, put companies in a position to get that alpha returns and also look really good, whenever somebody comes in to evaluate the business.
Yeah, nice. No, TradeGage is definitely going to be it's definitely going to shake up the markets, and it's definitely going to assist businesses. And just going back on when you highlighted that there's going to be a 1 week turnaround, it's like between ourselves and the company, we tend to say, time does kill deals. And the fact that you are eliminating that process, it definitely is going to be a game changer for you guys.
Oh, 100%. That's the way we see it too, Joshua. And you're absolutely right. I mean, it is going to save time. That little run of what I just said, getting a valuation, quality of earnings, and then to a term sheet, hell, that could take 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, we're condensing it down to 1 week. So, I mean, it's just like, it's absolutely, tremendous. It's not just what we're doing at TradeGage AI. I would say AI in general is really right now in July of 2025 is just, I mean, like the amount of things that AI is touching and improving is unbelievable.
Yeah, for sure. I think AI it's definitely exponential, because I don't think anyone actually realized how fast it would go. Because obviously we started our company, I think it was December last year, and ever since then the capabilities have just gone, I think, beyond our imagination. But then I did want to ask Jeff. So you've made TradeGage AI, and that's kind of, from what I understood, that's kind of like one of your main pain points, and now you've solved that. What's the next step from here on out? Obviously, you've got a press release tomorrow, so I'm just wondering, you seem like a man who likes to solve problems very quickly, so I'm just intrigued to hear what's next.
Well, yeah, so I can't really think too much in the future because these guys, my partners, Roger Robles, who's our COO, Ken Lawler, who's our CFO, who just actually exited Inc. Payments. He got a real nice exit package there. They grew that business into, a monster business, and that was VC backed by several VCs. And so honored to have Ken, as our CRO. And then we have Taylor Postle, who's been in private equity for the last 5 years, sourcing businesses, raising capital. He's our CFO. So we have a remarkable team. And of course, Kyle Cobb, who I mentioned earlier, who is the number 10 in the world on, AI agent usage. So we're pretty proud of him and proud of that. But those guys have tapped me to be the CEO of TradeGage AI. So, I'll have my hands full between that and CacheCade. And so I don't think, I think for now I got enough on my plate.
Yeah, you're a busy man.
But certainly, if you get me, get me in a couple beers in, Darnell, and I'm sure I'll have a bunch of different things. But I think right now it's best to focus on what's in front of me. Just, like they say, right? I mean, I got a big task in front of us to go raise of this money and to grow this business. We think by the end of the year, we can get some we've already getting pre-signups and a lot of early traction. But again, it's going to be a lot of hard work from here on out to the rest of the year to not only work with investors and, kind of do the rounds, but also engage with as many potential clients as possible and, start getting users on the platform. And help our sales team just basically put us in a position to win.
That's nice, nice. In terms of getting traction, has that been from like, your network, or has there been any other avenues that you've looked at to try and get more
Yeah.
traction?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm fortunate enough to have a really good network here in Austin. A few of the partners that I worked with at Noble Capital have started their own firms and they have these events that, you guys, I would love for you guys to come, if you want to jump across the pond. But
We
yeah,
will
we
be.
have,
We will be.
let's go. Yeah. So, I mean, I'll tell you guys, we have this, these guys have this relationship with these high-end realtors and they have these, 15, $17 million homes that are listed for sale. So what we'll do is we'll get, 15, 20 investors that are interested in investing. And then we'll have a private chef come in with an open bar. And then we'll pitch the event and then, have the dinner. And then it's just an intimate night of networking at this, beautiful $15 million home. And the homeowner and the realtor benefit from the people in the audience that are, they're all millionaires. So if they don't, if they're not in the market for a house and a transactional buyer, they may know somebody who is. So it gives them free advertising, I guess, if you will, to their target space. So it's just a good thing, and those happen here twice a week. I go up and I talk at one of them, Romney Navarro, Ragland Navarro Capital. They have the thing called Deal Makers. That's twice a month. I hit that and talk a lot about CacheCade, trying to raise the remaining 1.5 million on that round. And so that'll be interesting to get you guys out there and show you little pieces of it. Yeah. So my network in Austin is really good. It's managed to pick some really good coworkers over the years that have gone and done some wonderful things and have a lot of engagement.
Yeah.
So Jeff, actually, sorry, go on, Josh.
I was just gonna say, just on that, in terms of like coworkers, how do you tend to find like the best talent, like in terms of like coworkers?
Yeah, that's a good question. At Noble, I worked right with the CEO to hire our C-level suite board directors and partners, brought on Hugh Hefner's son, Cooper Hefner, to come work for us, set him up with Chris Ragland Capital, who's also helping him get the remaining money needed to buy Playboy. So I'm not sure if you guys saw that or not, but he offered 100 million to buy back Playboy. He's just a few million short, so Chris is helping him raise the remaining amount of that money to go and and buy that company back and put that legacy back with the Hefners. But Cooper's a great guy. I ended up recruiting him, and he came to work with us at Noble Capital as a partner and head of capital markets. And he introduced me to a lot of people. He grew up in the mansion, so he's got a huge Rolodex. So that's been great. We had this, our CEO over there, Jaden Newman, he take this very seriously, or he still does take it very seriously. I don't want to say used to. He had these, we create these huge like Excel, sheets and have all these different metrics that we look for. And if you're going to pin me down to one, I would say grit was probably one of the bigger things that we look for is, can you handle a tough situation? And keep calm and perform under pressure, because private equity is high stakes, high pressure. Not only do you have to go get the money from investors, but you also have to execute the deal, which is both very, it takes a special person to do both of those things. So, it's a lot. And I'll tell you this, I'm not going to claim to be no expert. I was watching a TED talk about one of the Fortune 100 CEOs. I forget who it was, but he said, if I'm lucky, I only get hiring wrong 70% of the time. What does that tell you?
You're gonna get it wrong quite a bit.
That's right. And this is a Fortune 100 CEO saying this. And that got me thinking too. And McKinsey does a really good job, with these articles. I think I mentioned this to you earlier, but they came out with an article that was something to the, along the lines of newly minted portfolio company CEOs after 18 months are not meeting expectations. And, that could lead
Mm.
to, attrition and turnover. That was something that I really thought about, and it had to basically constantly keep on the lookout for top talent within portfolio companies, seeing as how the odds are not in their favor to meet expectations. It's you got to become really good at recruiting, if you're going to have a great culture, a winning culture, because those types of things are dynamic, right? I mean, not everybody is the right person for the job at the right time. But at the right time, that person might be the right person. But you always have to look into that. And like I said before, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So I think the actions of the individual, to me, is if you can kind of see that before you hire them, is something that's super important, because a lot of people can talk about what went wrong, or tell you, hey, you should have done this differently. But I'd rather have the person that's actually going to go and do it. You know what I mean? So I think that's what it's about, just grit and roll up your sleeves kind of mentality. For me, that's it.
Because I think we're, in terms of us, I feel like we're definitely at the expanding stage. So I think that's probably the major reason why Joshua asked that question. And I think because the team is like, we have a very similar mindset. So I feel like it's very significant that that person also has that mindset. So we're a little bit paranoid at the same time. We need someone to join us, obviously, but there's just a little bit, there's a little bit of
There needs
natural
to be
paranoia.
synergies. There needs to be
Yeah.
synergies.
Yeah,
And I
man.
do
And
get the
Jeff,
grit side of things.
now you even scare me even more about most likely you're going to hire the wrong person anyway.
Well, Darnell, it's like, culture is cash flow, right? So you have to be very delicate about who you bring in. I mean, of course, if you're
Absolutely.
bringing on people at a high level, then of course, it's going to hurt like hell, having to dilute yourself on the cap table. But if you're not doing that and you're just hiring an employee, that could be
Mm.
something a little bit different. However, it is, I would say if you want, I mean, if I don't know if you're asking for my advice on this, but if you are, I would say just look for people that have a habit of finishing things. Even I hired one person one time, and they told me he came from a bit, PIMCO, a big, huge financial platform. He said, Jeff, it really stuck with me, and I'll never forget this. He said, I have to finish things. He goes, even if I'm watching a movie and it's absolutely terrible, I'll have to finish it, because it's like I can't just not finish things. And I started thinking, I was like, this is exactly the kind of guy we need, because there's going to be a ton of challenges. Nothing's going to work right, but you have to just be, no
Yeah, for
matter
real.
what, I'm going to get this done. And that's what it takes, because life is just full of distractions, and there's problems and things that aren't going to go your way and things that aren't fair. But you have to overlook that and just stay focused on the mission. I think that's, if you can identify those things as a pattern of character, then that's a keeper.
That's
Without
big.
a doubt. And Jeff, I slightly wanted to tweak the question that Josh asked you as well. So I was going to ask, like, how important do you think it is to make partnership in the realm of business, and how do you actually go about making partnerships?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely probably the most important thing in my mind is partnerships and strategic alliances and things like that. Like, for instance, with you guys, right? So I mean, I'm super excited to work with you guys, in London, and bring our product global. I think without that, you're really missing a lot, and then vice versa, right? I mean, I think we can do things to help grow your business, in the United States. So I think the cross sell synergies are so huge. You can't sleep on those. I mean, that's what acquisitions are normally. That's the main thing. If you're doing a vertical acquisition, I mean, you're looking at cross sell opportunities. Horizontal, of course, that's easy. You're doing the same thing, but you're looking at ways that you can share customer lists and things like that, and just basically, if you can partner with somebody that has an existing business relationship but that's inside of your TAM, that's always a good thing.
Okay, cool. Nice. Nice. Okay, cool. I'm
But
gonna
yeah, I
start
mean,
reaching out to mutuals on LinkedIn and so forth.
yeah, I would say I've had some success in this, and I think it's more about just genuinely having interest in the other person and what they're doing. I think that's kind of really what it boils down to is, I try to listen without pre-programming something back to say, and just listen. And that's kind of helped me, a lot in relationships and personal relationships. And just, I try not to form an opinion or think of something to say in return, just listen and digest it. And then formulate my own opinion, not based on what they said, but based on the data that I was able to get from them.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, if you're just sitting there, you know, trying to think of something to say back, you're missing. You're not
What's
fully
there?
understanding the person in front of you.
100%. That's why they say you got two ears and you got one mouth.
There you go.
There we go. It speaks for itself. But Jeff, you're an author. The book, 100 Million Playbook. Talk to me. What was the goal behind, making this book?
Yeah.
And by the
No,
way,
I appreciate
before you answer, sorry, I was going to say, it's on its way. It should be with me on
it.
Monday.
Okay. Awesome.
Just putting it out. All right. Cool.
Awesome. All right, Joshua. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was on a call yesterday with a guy that had just read it too, and he was like, "Yeah, this is great." And I was like, "Yeah." So the whole goal, Joshua, was for you to be able to, you go on like a 2 or 3 hour flight for you to read it during a 2 or 3 hour flight. Just real easy reading, big spacing.
Mm.
I can't see where the shit, so the letters are real big. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it, and I'll look forward to your feedback. But yeah, so that book was written because what we do is sometimes complicated to understand, especially when you're talking to investors and founders. And a lot of what we do and what differentiates ourselves at the private equity company Atlantic Gulfstream is we're able to give these founders a 7.5 multiple on even like a million EBITDA, or 1.5 million EBITDA, which is unheard of. It's like, you're never going to get that. You'd be lucky to get 5 turns on 2 million EBITDA. And we're talking home service businesses here, MEP specifically, mechanical, electric, plumbing. So instead of having to explain this every time I go and sit down with the founder and their family, I decided to write a book and give them the book and say, please read this. This will give you a better understanding of not just the process, but how the whole thing works mechanically, and so you understand what's going on here. And then same thing for the investors, right? Hey, here's the peek behind the curtain of how we're able to return, 4 to 6 MOIC in 24 months or less. And so it was basically written as an educational tool for founders and investors. And then I kind of pivoted a little bit to, just like the normal entrepreneur, and just kind of threw some nuances in there for people that are just now getting into private equity or have come across some money and, want to make some investments, and just teach them about multiple arbitrage and how that works, and, how there's a big, a large amount of money out there if you can just consolidate some businesses and get it resold. You're talking, 9-figure profits here. It's it's like it's the sexiest tool in the private equity playbook, multiple arbitrage.
Multiple options. Cool.
You also need to do organic growth and, focus on operational alpha and things like that. But, when you buy at 3 and sell at 10, good things happen.
Yeah, because I've even heard that expression before. Because I think we had a podcast a little while ago actually, where I think so he used to work at a bank, and I think it was only him and one other person. I think that was the arbitrage desk alone was like an $100 million desk, and it was only 2 people. So yeah, I think I might have to order that book as well. That's what I want to say.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, I would love to work with you guys, more on that, and happy to help. Yeah, that was where the book came from. And I also talk a little bit about the deal and some things that happened. One of the guys we had, great guy, and I had a, $850,000 diesel truck racing habit annually. And it was like, okay, we got to figure this out. I'm going through the P&L going, what the hell was this?
Yeah.
During the deal, he went out to the salt flats in Utah, I believe it is,
Mhm.
and attempted a land speed record in this thing. I was like, oh no, dude, we're trying to buy your business.
I mean, did he
Come
beat
on,
the record?
and he was like, Jeff, don't worry, the business is in my daughter's name. And I was like, that doesn't make me feel any better, buddy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did. I think, yeah, he got really close to breaking it. Didn't break it, but he gave it a really good run. I mean, these things run like 300 miles an hour in the quarter.
Crazy.
It's impressive.
But what I was going to say, Jeff, is we're going to leave a link for your book in the description as well. So it
Thank you.
gives people the opportunity to purchase it as well. Is there an audio book as well, just out of interest?
There is. Yeah, there is on Amazon. There sure is, Joshua. There's an audio book as well.
Nice.
I'd also like to provide some information around how they can invest in CacheCade or, participate in the seed round for TradeGage AI. But, CacheCade is, right there in, I wouldn't say your backyard, but I mean, it's closer to you than me, Zurich. I think for the risk level, the return is way oversized, right? I mean, this is 7-year-old business. It's a growth equity. The company will exit in 24 months or less. It's a really solid, growth equity investment. I mean, in SaaS, I mean, you're talking 15, 17 multiple here on EBITDA or, whatever you want to, do it for revenue as well. But the company's in great shape, and it's a wonderful time to get in to make some 4 times your money in 2 years or less.
Is there a minimum? I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so I try and lower that minimum as quickly, as much as possible with
Mhm.
our founder. But yeah, he's got the minimum at 250 US.
Okay, intriguing. Might have to have some conversation with Joshua. See what you
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Jeff,
So, but yeah, I mean, it'd be a heck of an opportunity, and something that certainly happy to do an introduction to any of your audience with our CEO and get you more information about that. And then, of course, you can look for the press release about TradeGage AI, and then, you can contact us, through our website or our LinkedIn page, and all that stuff will be on the press release that comes out tomorrow.
stuff. Well, yeah, we'll definitely be linking everything in the YouTube description so people can get access to it. And also, yeah, it'll be on our LinkedIn as well. So yeah, guys, I mean, check that out if you're looking for funding, I guess. But Jeff, I did want to ask as well, right? So of course, look, you've built and scaled businesses multiple times over and over again. What's been like the biggest lesson that you've learned?
Wow, that's a great question. I would say that the biggest lesson you can learn is revenue. Don't ever lose sight of revenue and in new business. The most important deal in your pipeline is the one you don't have. So I would say never let off the gas ever, because you're going to run into problems. You can't make everyone happy. And churn is extremely important to a business's health. And so it's okay to make mistakes early on, but you have to be able to correct those mistakes, with added revenue to where, you can keep that churn at least level at first. So, that's probably one of my biggest things, is just never losing sight that revenue is the key to this thing, and keep the sales culture in your organization is the best way to say it.
So I feel like we're going to be taking those on personally as well.
Yeah.
I was also look, we're halfway through the year. Well, a month after halfway through the year. But what's one of the biggest opportunities? What's one of the biggest opportunities for founders and investors? In 2025 and beyond.
Yeah, I would say, selfishly, I'm going to say consolidation. There's more, baby boomers exiting right now, people in their mid 60s that are selling businesses. I think there's an amazing opportunity to jump in and consolidate those businesses, like we're doing at, TradeGage AI, and then our partnership with TradeSet Capital. So in my mind, I think that's really the benefit. I mean, look, you go and find even two or three smaller businesses, and you can just do it at a smaller scale, right? And say you pick them up at 2 turns, and you got 3 of them, and you get yourself up to 5 million EBITDA. Well, then you can sell that at 7 turns. So, that's 5 points you just made on the stack. So if you had a $5 million stack, you just made $25 million. So in my opinion, I think that's where it's at. Is TradeGage AI will allow somebody that's not a private equity vet and that doesn't have a PhD in accounting or something, to be able to confidently source and diligence deals and put together a term sheet, essentially using AI and automation. After that, there's some real work that has to happen, but the actual act of finding, evaluating, and getting financing, the platform can handle. So I think that I would encourage folks to read the book, to look into consolidation, and then get on TradeGage AI and start your free trial, and use it to put together a consolidation and make yourself some cash.
Just before we do close up, Jeff, I just wanted to ask, of course, in this journey of entrepreneurship, there's sometimes stories or there's sometimes scenarios within this space where it's like, this is why I do it. This is my why. This is what's driving me. Has there been like, is there a story that you can share of where, where you were trying super hard, it was no luck, and then bam, you hit the jackpot, or things just, the domino effect started. You hit that first domino and then things just started to propel.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with, breaking into the YouTube private equity role. I think that's kind of when it started for me. That kind of opened up the door for other opportunities. And, I spent, 3 years there, give or take, something really close to that. And that allowed me to develop quite the network in Austin, meet with investors, learn how to run a portfolio company, learned a lot from our CEO over there and the other guys. So John Basis is one of the guys that I still have as an advisor. He was one of the founders of Comfort Systems USA, which is now $10 billion market cap or whatever they are now, which is an HVAC company, which is kind of what I do. So I would say that started it. The really kind of, moments where you start looking at a real 9-figure check, was a few years ago when I met a few guys that are just master sourcers that pull together 5, 7 companies on a P&L, and I think it was like 1 week. I was blown away. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I can't believe this. So the guy walks in with 7 companies ready to go. And it was like, oh God, here we go. So yeah, we put it together and, went and raised. Yeah, I think, that's, when you get together with people that are the best at what they do, um, and you have each person that you have on the team is world class at what they do, then it's amazing to see what can happen and how it happens so fast. But it's just kind of like the right people in the right positions. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what really did it for me, is being able to have some success, like pulling together a deal like that, sitting at Texas Capital Bank with the president of the bank in Dallas, and the rest of their executive team, pitching this thing. I think, having those opportunities and getting the right deal together with the right team, that is like, okay, this, from that point on, it's just been a part of my life.
Amazing. Amazing. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your perspectives. Dana will probably agree with me. You've dropped a lot of gems, a lot of value, a lot of golden nuggets. We're certainly going to use the information that you shared with us personally and definitely implement it within our business and, our strategies moving forward. In relation to CacheCade and Atlantic Gulfstream, we're definitely going to, put your links in the bio also for your book as well. But yeah, guys, that's been another episode of the Navvai Shift. I've been with Jeff Cree, our guest, and Darnell, my co-host. We appreciate you for watching.
Thank you guys.
All
Appreciate it.
right. Amazing.